Hello and welcome back to English in Advance. I am your host, Jessica, and I am so happy you are joining me today for this special comprehensive episode. If you have been looking for a way to take your English from the textbook to the real world, you are in exactly the right place. Today we are going to dive deep into mastering everyday English phrases that will help you improve your speaking and listening skills fast. We are focusing on that B1 to B2 level, which is that sweet spot where you move from understanding the basics to truly communicating like a native speaker. Our goal today is to make you feel confident, comfortable, and ready to speak in any situation. Whether you are driving to work, cooking dinner, or just relaxing at home, let's start this journey together. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you never miss a lesson that could change the way you speak. Let's get started. When we learn English in school, we often learn very formal ways to speak. We learn to say, "Hello, how are you? I am fine, thank you." While this is correct, native speakers rarely speak like this in their daily lives. To sound more natural and to understand movies, TV shows, and coworkers, you need to master the casual flow of everyday phrases. We are going to look at how we start conversations, how we agree and disagree, how we express our feelings, and how we end conversations politely. I want you to listen closely to the intonation and the context because that is the secret to fluency. Let's imagine you are meeting a friend you haven't seen in a while. Instead of saying, "How are you?" a native speaker will often ask, "How is it going?" This is a very common phrase. How is it going? It means exactly the same thing, but it sounds much more relaxed. You might also hear, "What have you been up to?" This is a great phrase to use when you want to ask someone about their life since the last time you saw them. It invites a story rather than just a simple answer. If someone asks you, "What have you been up to?" you can answer by saying, "Not much, just the usual," or you can tell them about a new project or hobby. Let's try to practice this in your head or out loud if you can. Imagine I am your friend and I see you at a coffee shop. I say, "Hey, it is so good to see you. What have you been up to?" You could reply by saying, "Oh, I have been pretty busy with work, actually." Notice how the phrase "pretty busy" is used here. In English, we often use the word pretty not to mean beautiful, but to mean quite or very. So if you say, "I am pretty tired," it means you are quite tired. This is a small change that makes a huge difference in how natural you sound. Another great phrase for checking in on someone is, "How are things coming along?" We use this when we know someone is working on a specific project or goal. Maybe your friend is renovating their house or studying for an exam. You can ask, "How are things coming along?" It shows you remember what is important to them and you care about their progress. Now let's move into the middle of a conversation. One of the hardest things to do in a second language is to keep the conversation flowing naturally. You do not want awkward silences. A fantastic phrase to connect ideas is "speaking of which." We use this when someone mentions a topic that reminds us of something else we wanted to talk about. For example, if your friend is talking about going to the cinema, you might say, "Speaking of which, have you seen the new action movie that just came out?" It is a smooth bridge between topics. Another useful connector is "that reminds me." It works in a similar way. If someone talks about Italian food, you could say, "That reminds me I need to book a table for dinner tonight." These small phrases act like glue holding the conversation together so it does not fall apart. Sometimes you need to express your opinion. At the B1 or B2 level, you want to move beyond just saying I think or I like. A very common way to introduce your opinion is to say, if you ask me. This phrase is slightly informal and signals that you are about to share your personal view. For example, you could say, if you ask me, this is the best coffee in the city. It sounds confident, but not aggressive. Another phrase is to be honest. We use this often when we are saying something that might be a little negative or surprising, or just very sincere. You might say, to be honest, I didn't really enjoy the movie. It softens the blow of a negative opinion. You can also use the phrase, as far as I'm concerned. This is a bit stronger and shows that this is your firm opinion, regardless of what others think. For instance, as far as I'm concerned, we should leave early to avoid traffic. Let's practice expressing agreement because connecting with people is all about finding common ground. If someone says something you completely agree with, you can say, I couldn't agree more. This is much stronger and more emotional than just saying, I agree. It means you are 100% on the same page. Imagine someone says, learning English takes a lot of patience. You would respond by saying, I couldn't agree more. On the other hand, if you only agree a little bit or you have a reservation, you can say, I see your point. But this is a polite way to disagree or offer a different perspective without starting an argument. For example, if someone says we should take the bus because it is cheaper, you might say, I see your point, but the train is much faster. It respects their opinion while introducing yours. Now let us talk about making plans. This is something we do almost every day. A very casual way to suggest doing something is to use the phrase, how about? You can say, how about we go for lunch, or how about watching a movie? It is a low-pressure way to make a suggestion. If you want to ask if someone is free, you can ask, do you have anything on later? To have something on means to have plans or arrangements. So if you ask, do you have anything on this weekend, you are asking if they are busy. If they say no, I don't have anything on, that implies they are free to hang out with you. If you want to confirm a plan, you can say, does that work for you? This is excellent for both social situations and business contexts. If you suggest meeting at 3 o'clock, you immediately follow it up with, does that work for you? It checks if the time fits their schedule. Let's transition to discussing feelings and physical states because we talk about ourselves a lot. If you have had a very long day at work and you are exhausted, you can say, I am beat. This is a very common slang term for being very tired. You might say, I worked 12 hours today, so I am totally beat. It sounds much more expressive than just saying I am tired. If you are feeling sick or just not quite right, you can say I am feeling a bit under the weather. This is a beautiful idiom that means you are not feeling well. Maybe you have a cold or a headache. You would call your boss and say, I cannot come in today. I am feeling a bit under the weather. Everyone will understand exactly what you mean. On the positive side, if you are very happy or excited about something, you can say, I am over the moon. For example, I passed my driving test and I am over the moon. It paints a vivid picture of your happiness. We also need to talk about understanding and clarity. Sometimes native speakers talk very fast or use words you do not know. It is crucial to know how to ask for clarification without feeling embarrassed. Instead of just saying what or I don't understand, you can say, could you run that by me again? This suggests you want them to repeat the information. It is often used in work contexts or when explaining complex instructions. You could say, I missed that last part. Could you run that by me again? If you are not sure you understood the meaning, you can say, "Do you see what I mean?" This is used when you are the speaker and you want to check if the other person is following you. You explain an idea and then ask, "Do you see what I mean?" If you are the listener and you want to confirm you understood, you can say, "I get the picture." This means you understand the situation generally. Let's look at some phrases for dealing with problems or mistakes because life is not always perfect. If you make a small mistake like bumping into someone or forgetting a name, you can simply say, "My bad." This is very casual and should only be used with friends or family, not your boss. You drop a pen and say, "Oops, my bad." If the mistake is bigger or you want to be more polite, you can say, "I messed up." This means you made a mistake. You could say, "I messed up the report and I need to fix it." It shows you are taking responsibility. If someone else is apologizing to you and you want to tell them it is not a big deal, you can say "no worries" or "no biggie." These are very common in casual English. Someone says, "Sorry, I am late," and you smile and say "no worries." It immediately removes the tension from the situation. In a professional environment or when you are trying to get things done, we have a specific set of phrases. If you are very busy, you can say, "I am swamped." Imagine a desk full of paperwork or an inbox full of emails. You would tell your colleague, "I would love to help, but I am swamped right now." It is a descriptive way to say you are overwhelmed with work. If you want to keep someone updated on a situation, you can say, "I will keep you in the loop." This is a great business phrase. It means you will inform them of any changes or updates. You finish a meeting and tell your client, "Do not worry, I will keep you in the loop regarding the project." Conversely, if you want to get up to speed, it means you want to learn the latest information. You might join a project late and say, "I need a few days to get up to speed." Let's practice a scenario that combines a few of these. Imagine you are at work. Your colleague asks how the new project is going. You can answer by saying, "It is coming along well, but I am a bit swamped to be honest." They might suggest helping you. You could respond, "That is very kind of you. Does meeting tomorrow morning work for you?" They agree. You end the conversation by saying, "Great, I will keep you in the loop." Notice how professional yet natural that sounds. It flows much better than short robotic sentences. This flow is what we are aiming for. Another area where learners struggle is ending a conversation. You do not want to just walk away. You need a transition. A classic phrase is, "I better get going." This signals that you need to leave, but it does so politely. You can add a reason, like, "I better get going. I have a meeting in 10 minutes. Another nice phrase is, "It was great catching up." We use catch up to mean talking to someone we haven't seen in a while. So you say, "It was great catching up. Let's do this again soon." This leaves the interaction on a positive note. If you are on the phone, you might say, "I will let you go." This is a very polite way to end a call, implying that you do not want to take up any more of the other person's time. You say, "Anyway, I will let you go. Talk to you later." Let's dig a little deeper into idioms that are safe to use in everyday conversation. Idioms can be tricky because they do not mean what the individual words suggest, but they add so much color to your language. Have you ever heard the phrase, "call it a day"? We use this when we decide to stop working on something. Maybe you have been studying for 4 hours and you are tired. You look at your books and say, "I am going to call it a day." It means you are finished for now. Another useful one is cut to the chase. This means to get to the point without wasting time. If someone is telling a long story with too many details, you might think, please cut to the chase. You can also use it on yourself by saying, I know you are busy, so I will cut to the chase. It shows you respect their time. Sometimes things happen that are unexpected. If something happens out of the blue, it means it happened completely unexpectedly without warning. You might say, my old friend called me out of the blue yesterday. It adds a sense of surprise to your story. If you are undecided about something, you can say, I am on the fence. Imagine sitting on a fence between two fields. You do not know which side to jump down to. You use this when making decisions. For example, I am on the fence about accepting the job offer. It communicates your hesitation perfectly. Learning these phrases is not just about memorizing words, it is about understanding the emotion behind them. When you say, I am over the moon, you should smile. Your voice should go up. When you say, I am beat, your shoulders might drop and your voice might be lower. English is a stress-timed language, which means the rhythm comes from the stressed words. In the phrase, I am feeling a bit under the weather, the main stress is on weather and under. Try to mimic the musicality of the language. Listen to podcasts, watch interviews, and try to shadow the speakers. Shadowing means repeating exactly what they say, immediately after they say it, trying to match their speed and tone. As we continue, I want to address a common fear, which is the fear of making mistakes. Many learners stay silent because they are afraid of using the wrong phrase. But remember, communication is about connection, not perfection. If you use a phrase slightly wrong, a native speaker will usually understand you from the context. For example, if you say, I am completely beat up instead of I am beat, they might laugh a little, but they will know you are tired. The important thing is to keep trying. Every time you use a new phrase, it becomes a stronger part of your vocabulary. Now, let's expand our horizons and look at specific situations you will encounter when traveling, shopping, and socializing. These are the moments where you often feel the most pressure to be correct, so we are going to practice them until they feel second nature. Remember, the goal is not to memorize a dictionary, but to learn the chunks of language that native speakers use without thinking. So take a deep breath, relax your shoulders, and let's continue this journey to fluency together. Let's start by imagining you are traveling. Travel is one of the main reasons people learn English because it is the global language of tourism. When you are in a new city, you will eventually need to ask for directions. In school, you might have learned to say, where is the train station? While this is grammatically correct, it can sound a little abrupt or rude to a stranger. A much softer and more polite way to ask is, could you point me in the right direction for the train station? This phrase, point me in the right direction, is very useful. It implies that you are not asking for a detailed map, just a general idea of where to go. Another great phrase is, excuse me, I seem to be a little lost. Admitting you are lost is a great icebreaker. People generally want to help. If you ask how far is it, they might reply it is within walking distance. This is a key phrase to listen for. Within walking distance means it is close enough that you do not need a taxi or a bus. If it is far, they might say it is quite a trek. A trek implies a long and difficult walk, so if you hear that, you might want to call a cab. Let's practice a direction scenario. Imagine you stop someone on the street. You say, excuse me, I am looking for the city museum. Could you point me in the right direction? They might say, sure, just go straight down this street and take a left at the lights. You can't miss it. That last phrase is essential. You can't miss it. We use this all the time to reassure someone that the destination is very obvious and easy to find. It gives you confidence. If you are at a hotel and you want to explore the local area, you might ask the receptionist, "Are there any must-see spots nearby?" A must-see is something so good that you have to see it. It functions as a noun here. The receptionist might tell you that the old market is a real hidden gem. A hidden gem is a place that is beautiful and special, but not many tourists know about it. Everyone loves finding a hidden gem. Now let's move from the streets into the shops. Shopping involves a lot of specific vocabulary, especially when talking about money and value. If you walk into a store and a shop assistant asks if you need help, but you just want to look around, you can say, "I am just browsing, thanks." Browsing means looking without a specific intention to buy. It takes the pressure off. If you find something you like but it is very expensive, you might whisper to your friend, "This costs an arm and a leg." This is a classic idiom that means it is very expensive. You probably won't say this to the shop owner, but you will definitely use it with friends. On the other hand, if something is very cheap, you can say it is a steal. This implies the value is so good it is almost like you are stealing it. You might say, "Look at these shoes. They were only $20, what a steal." Sometimes you buy something and it breaks, or it is not what you wanted. You need to return it. This can be scary, but you have the phrases to handle it. You approach the counter and say, "I would like to return this item, please." If they ask why, you can say, "It doesn't live up to the hype." This is a great C1 level phrase that you can start using now. Hype is the excitement and advertising around a product. If it doesn't live up to the hype, it means the product is not as good as people said it was. If the service in a restaurant or shop is excellent, you might want to leave a tip. But sometimes the manager might offer you something for free, perhaps because it is your birthday, or because they made a mistake with your order. They will say, "It is on the house." This means the restaurant pays for it. If a waiter brings you a dessert and says, "This is on the house," you should smile and say, "Thank you very much." Let's shift gears to talking about time and schedules because our lives are governed by clocks. Native speakers have many colorful ways to talk about time. If you are running late, which happens to the best of us, you can text your friends saying, "I am running a bit behind." This is better than just saying, "I am late," because it suggests a process. You are moving, but you are behind schedule. If you arrive just in time before something starts, you can say, "I made it by the skin of my teeth." This is a funny visual. It means you barely made it. The train was leaving at 5 o'clock and you jumped on at 1 minute to 5. You made it by the skin of my teeth. Conversely, if you have plenty of time, you can say, "I have time to kill." This does not mean being violent. It means you have free time to waste before an appointment. You might say, "My flight is not for 3 hours, so I have some time to kill. Let's get a coffee." Socializing often involves making and changing plans. We talked about making plans earlier, but what about canceling them nicely? You cannot just say, "No, I won't come." That is too harsh. A wonderful idiom for this is to take a rain check. It comes from baseball, where games were canceled due to rain and spectators were given a ticket for a future game. In conversation, it means you cannot accept the invitation now, but you would like to do it another time. You can say, "I would love to have dinner, but I have to work. Can I take a rain check?" It shows you are still interested. If you are not sure about your plans yet, you can say, "Let's play it by ear." This means you will decide what to do as the situation develops. rather than making a firm plan now. You might say, I don't know if I will be tired after work, so let's just play it by ear. It gives you flexibility. Now, I want to talk about describing people and personalities. As you get better at English, you will want to gossip a little or describe your friends. If someone is very practical and humble and easy to talk to, you can call them down to earth. You might say, I love Jessica. She is so down to earth. It is a high compliment. If someone is very relaxed and doesn't get angry easily, they are easygoing. My brother is very easygoing. Nothing bothers him. However, if someone is annoying or causes problems, we call them a pain in the neck. Be careful with this one, as it is not polite. You would only use it with close friends to complain about someone else. You might say, my boss is being a real pain in the neck today. If someone is very kind and generous, you can say they have a heart of gold. It is a lovely image. My grandmother has a heart of gold. She always helps her neighbors. We also need to talk about listening skills. Improving your speaking is important, but being a good listener makes you a great conversationalist. When someone is telling you a story, you need to show you are listening. In English, we use small words called fillers or back-channeling sounds like really, uh-huh, and wow. But you can also use phrases. If someone tells you bad news, you can say, oh, that is a bummer. A bummer is a slang term for a disappointing situation. You missed the bus. Oh, that is a bummer. It shows empathy without being too dramatic. If something is shocking, you can say no way. It implies disbelief, but in a good or engaged way. Your friend says, I won the lottery. You scream no way. If you want to encourage someone to keep talking, you can say, and then what happened? This is a green light for them to continue their story. Let's integrate some of these into a workplace context. Business English is often just everyday English with a tie on, but there are specific phrases we use in the office. If you agree with someone during a meeting, you can say, I am on the same page. This means you have the same understanding or agreement. You might say, I think we are all on the same page regarding the budget. If you want to start a meeting or a project, you can say, let's get the ball rolling. This means to begin the process. You walk into the conference room and say, all right, everyone, let's get the ball rolling. If a project is finished and you are stopping for the day, you can say, let's wrap things up. To wrap up means to finish or conclude. You look at the clock, it is 5 p.m., and you say, let's wrap things up for today. Sometimes at work or in life, you encounter a problem that is difficult to solve. We often tell people to think outside the box. This is a bit of a cliche, but it is still very common. It means to think creatively. We need to think outside the box to solve this marketing problem. If you are working very hard on something, you might say, I have been burning the candle at both ends. This means you are working late at night and getting up early in the morning. It implies you are risking exhaustion. Your colleague might say, you look tired, you've been burning the candle at both ends, take a break. Speaking of breaks, let's take a moment to talk about health and self-care. If you are feeling healthy and energetic, you can say, I feel fit as a fiddle. A fiddle is a violin, and for some reason, historically, it is associated with being in good condition. I went for a run this morning, and I feel fit as a fiddle. If you are recovering from an illness, you are on the mend. You can tell your friends, thanks for the soup, I am definitely on the mend. It is reassuring. If you decide to start a new healthy habit like a diet or going to the gym, people might tell you to stick with it. This means do not quit. Learning English is a long journey, so I am telling you right now, stick with it. The results will be worth it. We've covered travel and shopping, but we need to go deeper into how we connect with people over the phone and online, how we talk about our relationships, and how we express regret or apologize when things go wrong. These are the emotional skills that truly separate a beginner from an intermediate or advanced speaker. Communicating facts is easy, but communicating feelings and navigating awkward situations requires a special touch. So let's dive back into the world of natural English. Let's start with something we all do every day, which is talking on the phone or making video calls. Since the world has moved online, our vocabulary has had to change too. Have you ever been on a call and the sound stops working or becomes strange? Instead of saying the sound is bad, a native speaker will say you are breaking up. This means the connection is unstable and parts of your voice are missing. You might say, "Sorry, you are breaking up. Could you say that again?" If the call suddenly ends completely, we say we got cut off. You call the person back and say, "Sorry, we got cut off. I think my signal is weak." Speaking of signal, if you are in a place where the phone does not work well, you can say, "I have bad reception." This explains why you might not hear them clearly. In the era of video calls like Zoom or Teams, we have a whole new set of phrases. The most common phrase of the last few years is definitely, "You are on mute." This means your microphone is turned off and nobody can hear you. It happens to everyone. If you cannot hear the other person, you might ask, "Is your audio on?" If the screen freezes, meaning the image stops moving, you can say your screen is frozen. These are small technical phrases, but knowing them saves you a lot of panic when technology fails. If you need to leave a call quickly, you can say, "I have to jump on another call." This is professional and implies you are busy and in demand. You say, "It has been great talking, but I have to jump on another call now. Bye." Now let's transition to talking about relationships. This includes friends, family, and romantic partners. When you meet someone and you like them immediately, we say we hit it off. This is a great phrasal verb. You can say, "I met Sarah yesterday and we really hit it off." It means you had good chemistry and easy conversation. If you spend a lot of time with someone, you are hanging out with them. This is the casual version of socializing. You do not say, "I am socializing with my friends." You say, "I am hanging out with my friends." If you have a friend you haven't seen in a long time, you might say, "We drifted apart." This is a sad but common phrase. It means you didn't have a fight. You just slowly stopped talking as life took you in different directions. You might say, "We used to be best friends, but after college we drifted apart." Sometimes relationships have problems. If you argue with a friend, we say you had a falling out. A falling out is a disagreement that stops you from speaking to each other. You might tell a story saying, "I had a falling out with my brother last year, but we are talking again now." When you fix the problem and become friends again, we say you made up. So you can fall out, and then you can make up. It is a cycle. If you want to check if someone is angry with you, you can say, "Are we good?" This is a very casual way to check the status of your relationship. If you accidentally offended them, you ask, "Are we good?" And they might say, "Yeah, we are good. No worries." Let's move on to a more complex emotion, which is regret. We all make mistakes, and knowing how to talk about them is part of being human. If you did something in the past that you wish you hadn't done, you can use the structure "I should have" or "I shouldn't have." For example, "I should have studied harder for the exam." This means I didn't study hard, and now I regret it. or I shouldn't have eaten that second slice of cake. It is a way of looking back. A very native idiom for regret is to kick yourself. It means you are angry with yourself. You say, I am kicking myself for not buying those tickets when they were cheap. It shows frustration. If you want to apologize for a mistake but you want to sound sincere, you can say, I didn't mean to. This explains that your intention was good, even if the result was bad. You say, I didn't mean to hurt your feelings. If you want to make the situation better, you can say, how can I make it up to you? To make it up to someone means to do something good to balance out the bad thing you did. You forgot your friend's birthday, so you say, I am so sorry. How can I make it up to you? Let me treat you to dinner. To treat someone means you will pay for them. It is a generous offer. Sometimes we need to deliver news that is not very good or is surprising. A useful phrase is, as it turns out. We use this when the result is different from what we expected. You might say, I thought the meeting was at 2, but as it turns out, it is at 3. It introduces a correction. Another narrative phrase is long story short. This is perfect when you want to skip the boring details and get to the result. You might say, my car broke down and I had no phone battery, but long story short, I finally got home at midnight. It keeps your listener engaged because you are focusing on the important part. Let's talk about understanding and confusion on a deeper level. If you are explaining something complicated and you want to see if the other person understands, you can ask, does that make sense? This is a checking question. You explain a new grammar rule and then ask, does that make sense? If you are on the receiving end and you are completely confused, you can say, I am lost. It is simple and honest. Wait, I am lost. Could you explain that again? If you understand the general idea but not the details, you can say, I think I get the gist. The gist means the main idea or the essence of something. I didn't understand every word of the movie, but I got the gist. There is a concept in English conversation called softening. Native speakers often do not like to be too direct because it can sound aggressive. Instead of saying, you are wrong, we say, I am not sure that is right. See the difference? It is softer. Instead of saying, I don't like it, we say it is not really my cup of tea. This is a fantastic idiom. If someone asks, do you like horror movies, you can say they are not really my cup of tea. It is a polite way to say you dislike something without offending the person who likes it. Instead of saying, I want you to do this, we say, would you mind doing this? Would you mind opening the window is much better than open the window. Let's integrate these softening phrases into a workplace scenario. Imagine your boss gives you a plan that you think will fail. You cannot just say this is a bad plan. You need to be diplomatic. You could say, I see where you are coming from, but I have a few concerns. To see where someone is coming from means you understand their perspective. Then you can add to play devil's advocate. This phrase means you are going to argue the opposite side just to test the idea, not because you are being difficult. You say just to play devil's advocate what happens if the budget runs out. This allows you to point out problems safely. Now let's look at telephone etiquette for appointments. You call a doctor or a hair salon. You say, I would like to make an appointment. If they ask when, you can say what is the earliest availability. This asks for the first open slot. If the time they offer is no good, you can say, that doesn't work for me. Do you have anything later? If you need to cancel, remember our phrase from earlier, I need to take a rain check, or more formally, I need to reschedule. To reschedule means to move the appointment to a different time. You say, I am so sorry something has come up and I need to reschedule. When you say something has come up, it is a vague but polite excuse. It means an unexpected problem has happened, but you do not have to say exactly what it is. Let's talk about handling good news and bad news. If someone tells you good news like they got a promotion or they are having a baby, you should react with energy. You can say that is incredible or I am so happy for you. A nice idiom is you made my day. This means your news has made my whole day happy. If someone tells you bad news, you need to lower your voice and show empathy. You can say, I am so sorry to hear that. If it is a small problem, like they lost their keys, you can say, oh no, what a nightmare. A nightmare here doesn't mean a bad dream, it means a frustrating situation. If they are going through a difficult time, you can say, my heart goes out to you. This is very deep and supportive. We also use specific phrases to describe our level of certainty. If you are 100% sure, you can say, I have no doubt. If you are mostly sure, you can say, I am pretty sure. But if you are guessing, you can say off the top of my head. This means you are answering without checking the facts or thinking deeply. Someone asks how many people live in your city. You say off the top of my head, I would say about 1 million. It signals that your answer might not be perfect. Another phrase for guessing is, I would hazard a guess. This is slightly more formal. Now we are going to level up. We are going to talk about how to tell captivating stories, how to describe your deepest dreams and ambitions, and how to use vocabulary that makes you sound not just fluent, but sophisticated. Language is not just about exchanging information, it is about painting a picture with words. When you can tell a story that makes people laugh or cry or dream, that is when you truly master English. So let's open a new chapter and explore the art of storytelling together. Every good story needs a good beginning. When you want to tell a friend about something amazing that happened, you need to grab their attention. A great phrase to start with is, you will never guess what happened. This immediately makes the listener curious. They want to know the answer. Or you can say, picture this. This phrase tells the listener to use their imagination to visualize the scene you are about to describe. For example, picture this. I was standing in the rain without an umbrella, and suddenly a car pulled up. It sets the scene perfectly. If you are telling a story about a strange coincidence, you can start by saying, believe it or not. Believe it or not, I saw my primary school teacher in Paris. It prepares the listener for a surprise. To keep a story moving, we use transition words. If you want to describe something happening very quickly, you can say all of a sudden. This is much better than just saying, then. All of a sudden, the lights went out. Another beautiful phrase is in the blink of an eye. This implies speed. In the blink of an eye, the bird flew away. If you want to build suspense, you can say, lo and behold. This is an old phrase, but still used to announce a surprising discovery. I opened the box, and lo and behold, it was empty. These phrases act like music in your story, changing the rhythm and keeping the listener on the edge of their seat. To be on the edge of your seat means to be very excited and eager to know what happens next. Let's talk about how to describe your feelings during these stories. Instead of using simple words like happy or sad, let's use stronger adjectives. If you were very scared, you were terrified. If you were very surprised, you were stunned. If you were very confused, you were baffled. Using these specific words adds color to your English. Imagine saying, I was absolutely baffled by the puzzle. It sounds so much more advanced than I didn't understand the puzzle. If you felt nervous before a big event like a speech or an interview, you can say, "I had butterflies in my stomach." This is a classic idiom that everyone knows. It perfectly describes that fluttery, nervous feeling. Now let's shift to talking about the future and your ambitions. We all have dreams, and English gives us beautiful ways to talk about them. If you really want to achieve something, you can say, "I have my heart set on it." For example, I have my heart set on moving to Canada. It means you are determined. If you are working towards a goal, you can say, "I am pursuing my dream." To pursue means to chase or follow. I am pursuing a career in medicine. If you have a list of things you want to do before you die, we call that a bucket list. You might say, "Seeing the northern lights is at the top of my bucket list." Sometimes our dreams seem very far away. We might call them a pipe dream. A pipe dream is a hope or plan that is impossible or very unlikely to happen. You might say, "Becoming a rock star is just a pipe dream for me, but I enjoy playing guitar anyway." However, if you are determined, you might say, "The sky is the limit." This means there is no limit to what you can achieve. It is a very positive and encouraging phrase. You tell your child, "Work hard, and the sky is the limit." If you decide to finally do something difficult that you have been avoiding, we say you bite the bullet. This means you force yourself to do something unpleasant or difficult. I finally bit the bullet and joined the gym. Let's practice some storytelling flow. I want you to imagine you had a terrible day, but it ended well. We call this a blessing in disguise. A blessing in disguise is something that seems bad at first, but causes something good to happen later. For example, you missed your train, but because of that, you met an old friend on the platform. Missing the train was a blessing in disguise. Another great phrase for ending a story is "all is well that ends well." This means the result was happy, so the difficulties do not matter. Now let's look at how to describe places and experiences, because we often tell stories about our travels. If a place is very beautiful, like a painting, we call it picturesque. The village was small and picturesque. If a city is very busy and full of energy, we call it bustling. We walk through the bustling market. If a place is far away from the main tourist areas, we say it is off the beaten path. Travelers love going off the beaten path to find authentic food and culture. If a view is amazing, so amazing it takes your breath away, we call it breathtaking. The view from the mountain was breathtaking. These adjectives are B2 and C1 level words that will instantly upgrade your English. Sometimes we need to talk about things that are not real things, that are hypothetical. We use the word "if" a lot. But let's look at a specific structure for regrets or past possibilities. If I had known, this is a powerful chunk. If I had known you were coming, I would have baked a cake. It means I didn't know, so I didn't bake. You can use this for many situations. If I had known it was going to rain, I would have brought an umbrella. It expresses a missed opportunity. On a lighter note, if you want to talk about something you wish for, you can say "if only I had more time." It expresses a strong desire. Let's discuss how to talk about decisions and risks. Life is full of choices. If you are undecided, we learn to say, "I am on the fence." But if you decide to take a risk, we say, "Take a leap of faith." This means to do something even though you do not have all the facts or guarantees. Starting your own business is taking a leap of faith. If you are nervous about a decision, you might get cold feet. To get cold feet means to suddenly become afraid to do something you had planned. He wanted to go skydiving, but he got cold feet at the last minute. In conversation, we also use phrases to soften our opinions or make them sound more thoughtful. Instead of saying, I think you can say it seems to me that, it seems to me that we need more time. Or you can say, from my perspective, this is a good opportunity. These phrases make you sound professional and calm. If you want to emphasize that something is true, you can say, without a doubt. She is without a doubt the best singer in the room. Or hands down. This is a casual way to say definitely. This is hands down the best burger I have ever eaten. Let's talk about social interactions and how to describe people's behavior. If someone is very friendly and loves being with people, we call them a people person. You should hire him. He is a real people person. If someone is the center of attention at a party, making everyone laugh, we say they are the life of the party. On the other hand, if someone is shy and stays in the background, we might say they keep to themselves. He is nice, but he keeps to himself. If someone is very honest and tells the truth even when it hurts, we say they are straightforward. I appreciate her because she is very straightforward. Sometimes you need to agree to disagree. This phrase means you accept that you have different opinions and you stop arguing. We argued for hours, but in the end we agreed to disagree. It is a mature way to end a conflict. If you want to tell someone to calm down because they are overreacting, you can say, pull yourself together. Be careful. This is strong. It means stop crying or stop shouting and regain control. You usually say this to a close friend who is panicking. We also have great idioms for when things are easy or difficult. If something is very easy, we say, it is a piece of cake. The exam was a piece of cake. Or we say it is a walk in the park. Fixing this computer will be a walk in the park. If something is difficult or annoying, we might say it is a hard nut to crack. This usually refers to a problem or a person that is difficult to understand. The new client is a hard nut to crack. If you are in a difficult situation with no good options, we say you are between a rock and a hard place. I can't quit my job because I need money, but I hate my boss. I am between a rock and a hard place. Let's focus on pronunciation for a moment. When we use these longer, sophisticated words, stress is everything. Look at the word breathtaking. The stress is on breath. Breathtaking. Look at the word overwhelming. This means something is too intense to handle. The stress is on whelm. Overwhelming. The heat was overwhelming. Try to punch the stressed syllable. It gives your English rhythm and clarity. If you speak like a robot with flat intonation, it is hard for native speakers to understand you even if your grammar is perfect. So put some energy into the stressed syllables. I want to touch on the concept of burnout. We talked about burning the candle at both ends. Burnout is the noun. It is a state of emotional and physical exhaustion. You might say, I am suffering from burnout. To avoid this, you need to take it easy. Take it easy means to relax. You should take it easy this weekend. You can also say, recharge your batteries. I need a vacation to recharge my batteries. This is a universal feeling and a very useful phrase. Now we are going to put the final coat of paint on our language house. We are going to talk about the language of the internet and modern slang because English is changing faster than ever. We will also look at the subtle cultural rules that textbooks do not teach you. And finally, we will weave everything together into one grand story to prove just how much you have learned. Let's talk about modern English. If you watch American movies or scroll through social media, you might hear words that do not make sense even if you know the dictionary definition. Slang is the language of the streets and the internet. One word you will hear everywhere is vibe. Originally, it meant vibration or feeling. Now, we use it to describe the atmosphere of a place or a person. You might say, I like this cafe, it has a really good vibe. This means it feels relaxing or cool. If you get along well with someone, instantly you can say, we are vibing. It is similar to hitting it off, but more modern and casual. On the negative side, if someone is giving off bad energy, we say they are killing the vibe. Another very common term, especially in dating and friendship, is ghosting. To ghost someone means to suddenly stop communicating with them without explanation. You were texting every day and then suddenly silence. You might say, I went on 3 dates with him, and then he ghosted me. It is a painful experience, but a very common word. If something makes you feel embarrassed on behalf of someone else, we call it cringe. If you see someone trying too hard to be cool and failing, you might say that is so cringe. It is an adjective and a noun. You might also hear the words low-key and high-key. Low-key means secretly or slightly. For example, I am low-key. Hungry means I am a little bit hungry, but I do not want to make a big deal out of it. High-key means openly or intensely. I am high-key excited about the concert, means I am very excited and I do not care who knows it. If someone is showing off their wealth or muscles or success, we say they are flexing. To flex means to show off. He is always flexing his new watch on Instagram. And if someone is upset or bitter about something, usually a small failure, we say they are salty. He is salty because he lost the video game. Now let's move to something more serious, which is cultural nuance. Knowing the words is one thing, but knowing the culture helps you use them correctly. In many English-speaking cultures, especially in the UK and parts of the US, people are very indirect. We rarely say no directly to an invitation. If you ask a friend to dinner and they say, I will have to check my schedule, or let's play it by ear, or I will think about it, usually that means no. They are trying to be polite to save your feelings. If you are the one refusing, try to avoid a direct no. Instead, say, I would love to, but I have too much on my plate right now. It is softer and maintains the friendship. Another cultural rule is the importance of small talk. You cannot just walk into a meeting or a party and start talking about deep topics immediately. You have to break the ice. The safest topic is always the weather. It sounds like a stereotype, but it is true. Saying beautiful day, isn't it? Or can you believe this rain is a universal key to open a conversation. Another safe topic is the weekend. Any plans for the weekend or how was your weekend are perfect openers. Avoid politics, religion, and money until you know the person very well. These are considered sensitive topics and can kill the vibe very quickly. Let's talk about modesty. In English culture, particularly British culture, it is common to downplay your achievements. If someone compliments you on a great presentation, you shouldn't say, yes, I know it was amazing. That sounds arrogant. Instead, you should say, thank you, I am glad it went well, or thanks, I had a lot of help. This is being humble. If you accept a compliment gracefully, people will respect you more. Now we have covered so much ground in this series. We have learned about being swamped at work, about being over the moon, about feeling under the weather, and about taking a rain check. We have learned to bite the bullet and to think outside the box. We know how to say, my bad, and no worries. These aren't just random phrases, they are the connecting tissue of the English language. To prove to you how much you know, I am going to tell you a story. This story uses over 20 of the phrases we have learned in this entire series. I want you to listen and see if you can recognize them. Do not worry about translating, just follow the flow. Here is the story. Tom was living in a small town and feeling a bit stuck. To be honest, he was bored. He had a pipe dream of becoming a photographer in New York City, but he was on the fence about moving. It seemed like a huge risk. He was terrified of failure. But one day, he decided to bite the bullet. He quit his job, packed his bags, and moved to the big city. When he arrived, he was overwhelmed. The city was bustling and noisy. He felt a bit under the weather because of the long flight and the change in climate. He tried to find an apartment, but the prices cost an arm and a leg. He thought about throwing in the towel, which means giving up and going home. He called his mom and said, "I think I messed up. I am in over my head." His mom said, "Hang in there, Tom. Give it a shot. You have always been a hard nut to crack." So Tom decided to stick with it. He found a small room that was a hidden gem. It was cheap and within walking distance of the subway. One day he was taking pictures in the park and he bumped into a woman named Sarah. He said, "Oh, my bad, I wasn't looking." Sarah smiled and said, "No worries." They started talking and they really hit it off. As it turns out, Sarah was an editor for a magazine. She looked at Tom's photos and said, "These are breathtaking. You have a real eye for this." Sarah asked Tom, "Are you free for lunch tomorrow?" Tom wanted to say yes immediately, but he remembered he had a job interview. He said, "I would love to, but I have an interview. Can I take a rain check?" Sarah said, "Absolutely, let's play it by ear for next week." Tom went to his interview. He was nervous, he had butterflies in his stomach, but he told himself to pull himself together. The interview was a piece of cake. The boss was very down to earth and easygoing. 2 days later, Tom got a call. The boss said, "We want to hire you." Tom was over the moon. He called Sarah and told her the news. She said, "That is incredible, you made my day. Speaking of which, my magazine needs a photographer for a new story. Are you interested?" Tom said, without a doubt. Long story short, Tom became a successful photographer. Looking back, moving to New York was a leap of faith, but it was the best decision he ever made. It wasn't always a walk in the park, but he learned that if you pursue your dream, the sky is the limit. Did you understand the story? If you did, congratulations. You just processed a very dense narrative full of idiomatic expressions. You understood that Tom was stuck, that he took a risk, that he struggled, that he met someone, and that he succeeded. You understood that throwing in the towel means quitting, and that a leap of faith is a brave decision. This is the power of context and repetition. You are no longer translating word for word, you are understanding ideas. As we come to the end of this massive journey, I want to talk about your future with English. Learning a language is a marathon, not a sprint. There will be days when you feel like you are not making progress. There will be days when you feel like you are breaking up or you are lost. That is normal. Do not beat yourself up. To beat yourself up means to criticize yourself unnecessarily. Be kind to yourself. Remember that every mistake is a stepping stone to fluency. You have the tools now. You do not need to memorize the entire dictionary. You just need to master the phrases that native speakers actually use. Focus on the chunks. Focus on the rhythm. Focus on the feeling. When you speak, try to act a little bit. Adopt the persona of an English speaker. It helps to lower your inhibitions. I recommend listening to this series multiple times. Repetition is the mother of learning. Listen to it while you are cooking, while you are driving, or while you are falling asleep. Let the patterns sink into your subconscious. Try to shadow the sentences. Pause the audio and repeat what I say, exactly how I say it. Record yourself and compare it to my voice. It might feel cringe at first, but it works. And finally, use the language. Do not just hoard these phrases in your notebook. Use them. Go to the comment section right now and write a sentence using one of the new slang words or idioms. Tell me about a time you had to bite the bullet. Tell me about something that makes you over the moon. Interacting with the community is a great way to practice. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for listening to English in Advance. Creating this script and guiding you through these lessons has been a privilege. I am Jessica, and I am rooting for you. I know you can do this. Keep your chin up, keep studying, and go out there and show the world what you have got. You are ready. If you enjoyed this series, please make sure to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and hit the notification bell so you never miss a lesson. Share this podcast with your friends who are also learning. Let's build a community of learners who support each other. Until next time, take care of yourself, keep learning, and remember, the sky is the limit. Goodbye for now, and happy speaking.